are back. I'm David Yakir. I'm here with Sandy and Theresa Vargo and the art of intimacy and the case of the toilet seat. So when we last left off, I mean, people will laugh at this because this is a common conversation around all households where there are couples who've been together a certain length of time. It's either the toilet seat, it's the toothpaste, it's leaving your clothes on the floor where you put your socks and that type of thing. And the reason that these things have a tendency to build out of proportion to what they actually are is because there are underlying things going on that nobody's communicating. And I think there's a word for this, when you're using this to replace that. And
it's called avoidance. It's avoidance energy, and we all use it in our relationships to stay safe.
Right. And so my question here is that so a discussion like this happens, and I guess your first approach is to say, do you understand what this person's saying, and are you listening, and, to make that connection. How do you find out what this is covering up?
That's right. So we call that veils of past pain. So we have many, many layers to our pain, and I call it my pain body. So we store trauma. We literally store trauma in our cellular body. So if something traumatic happens in your relationship, it doesn't just dissipate. It actually gets stored someplace in your heart or your body or your gut, our intuitive in your gut. That's where we have our core pain. So what we want to do is start to really understand your partner's pain. Not that you have to identify with it, but you can understand it, because we don't want to caretake that. Because really our partner just wants to be loved and seen for who they are.
Right.
It's really basic, and then it's not that complicated once you have the tools, but it takes work to learn how to communicate like this. It takes a couple of sessions to break the old pattern.
It sounds like too that where it gets difficult is when two people's pains are butting up against each other, and that's
right.
That's where the miscommunication happens.
That's right, Sandy. And what we want when that happens, we want to understand that that's happening for a reason, because the pain is no longer serving you in the relationship. So we meet someone, out of a billion people on the planet, you meet that one person. And have you ever asked yourself why? Why do I have energy with that particular person? And then you go on to have relationship or marriage, and then 20 years later, you wake up and you go, what do I still energetically need with this person? What's the lesson? I always look at lessons in relationships. What are they here to teach me? And oftentimes is to have a different experience with our pain.
Yeah.
And that's how we evolve. It's evolution of our own personal selves.
I have a question here. Is it true, or is it possible that quite often we don't communicate for fear of actually hurting the other person?
That's right. And we don't. So when we caretake the other person, that can equally be as frustrating to them, because it can actually be very, I know for me, I used to mother my partners to death. Like I would treat them so carefully that had a very mother archetype energy, and no one really wants to have intimacy with mother energy. So we break it down to the energies of what you're putting out there, and that would kill a lot of my relationships.
And it was done with the best intention, right? To nurture, to care for, and so, but that caring gets turned around, and
it feels like
rejected.
Mother.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody, and again, like I am such a nurturing person in my relationships, but I've learned how to pull that energy back and let them have their experience. I'm not here to change who they want to be, but I can have boundaries with what I need in the relationship. So I call it, there's things that we install in the relationship called agreements, boundaries, and deal breakers. So if the toilet seat is a boundary, then that gets to be negotiated. If it's a deal breaker, then you have to have a fine line in the sand what you're willing to put up with.
All right, we're going to have to sort of close out here. We're going to have you back, Theresa, and I believe we're going to have you back on next week's show. So we're going to continue. So I need two things from you now. I want you to tell our audience how they get in touch with you.
Right, you can find me at intimacy.expert is my website, or theresavargo.com. And you can peruse the website. There's a couple of different pages that gives you more information. I also have an amazing Lake Tahoe couples retreat coming up May 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
Yeah, that's definitely something that anybody who's interested, first of all, it's a beautiful location and the experience will be fabulous.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's only 4 couples. It's going to be intimate, and we're going to learn all of these things.
All right, that's great. And just to entice my audience for our next show, intimacy is not only how we communicate, but there are issues with physical intimacy also.
Absolutely. We'll dive deeper, David. I'm so excited.
I want to thank Theresa and Sandy. Always great co-hosting with you.
Pleasure.
I'm David Yakir, and you're listening to the Yak About.